Salutations, hello, good afternoon on this lovely Saturday. Anyway, yes, I have a hoodie on and it's summertime and it's hot outside. But I was in the movie for 4 hours, watched two movies today, and one of those movies happened to be War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, Matt Reeves, the director of this movie, that guy is magnificent. I understand he didn't do the first one, but he did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and this one, War. This thing, I remember watching Dawn, and I thought the first movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the old series that started in the 60s. I'm a big fan. I watched it one time when I was young. Spent about 10 or 11 hours watching those movies all back to back. They came on one day and I was just hooked in. I watched them all, and I watched them not too long ago, a couple years ago. I watched them all over. But when Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out, I was like, hey, that's a pretty good film. They're doing a rebooted series. That's cool. They taking it approaching from a different angle. If you ever seen the originals, you know how it starts. It starts by an astronaut going through a black hole, and then he ends up on this planet, and he doesn't know what planet it is. He finds out later that it's Earth, and that's at the end of the film, really. But well, near the end of the film, just watch those. They're really good. I mean, the visuals don't hold up like they, but the story is really good. I like it. I really like it a lot, except for that second movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. But I'm getting off topic. Let me talk about War for the Planet of the Apes. This movie was damn near a masterpiece. I want to call it a masterpiece, but I'm just going to call it a masterpiece. This guy, Matt Reeves, knows what he's doing. And the reason I say that is because, you'll watch movies sometimes, and you might find yourself yawning or waiting for the movie to pick back up because you know that's going to happen. And even the down moments were intense, because it was like, whoa, that's crazy. What just happened is crazy. But you're waiting for something else to happen. There was always something happening. Each scene was just, you're waiting to see what comes next. And maybe that's because this is a third in this series, that so much happened they can do that, and they don't have to explain too much. But what's good about this film also is it hits a lot of different emotions. There's characters in this that make you laugh. There's one in this that you grind your teeth at because you want to get your hands around her neck. And I'm talking about the apes mainly. I didn't get to the humans yet. But, and then Caesar does a great job. Andy Serkis does great as Caesar, in all his performances, especially motion capture. And the guy can really act in real life, too. But, oh, man, the visual effects in this was top-notch. These look like real apes walking around. It's crazy. Now, when they got to do some crazy stunts sometimes, you might second-guess like that looks like CGI. And the reason I say you might guess, because you don't know for sure. Well, actually, yeah, all the apes are CGI. But what I'm saying is, some of the action sequences, you see Caesar running, and that looks like a goddamn ape. You look like apes riding horses in this. It's phenomenal. But the story, if you watched any of the other two films, you already know what to expect here. It's deep and it's rich on story and drama, and there's some action, and man, and Woody Harrelson, got to give it up to him. When the movie starts and you're getting introduced to him, he just comes off like a complete, a-hole, for real. He's just like, I don't like that guy. But I was waiting so long for this one scene, and I'm not going to give any real spoilers away in this one. It's just a straight review. This one scene, I was waiting for a scene where him and Caesar can actually sit down and talk and have a conversation. And when that scene came up, I sat on it. I was in my seat and I sat forward like this because I was just so intrigued. And I just love this movie. Like I said, every single moment, even in some slow moments, you just wait to see what happened next, because it was just, everything was just so intense, this whole movie. But when Woody Harrelson character, the Colonel, was explaining what was his reason for being the way he is and what he's doing, it made sense here, and I think he just went left and made a wrong decision in another. Like, you could have done something different, dude. You didn't have to do that. But it kind of made sense. He was like, we messed up. Humans, we messed up. We're messing with nature. We're trying to do things we don't need to do. And in that, we made someone smarter, and we started something, and nature's paying us back for that. We changed nature, and nature's like, what are you doing? You're messing things up. And he's like, well, something's happening to the human race now. And people want to fix it the same way they supposedly were fixing other problems, coming up with a cure for Alzheimer's, messing with these apes, and they made them smarter. He was like, we haven't learned. Stop messing with nature. You know what I mean? So he's trying to, eradicate, exterminate these apes. He wants to do that. He feels like you're smarter than us now. You're just as smart. You're stronger. You're going to take us over. We are going to be lower on not just the food chain or anything like that, but in the evolutional chain. Like, you're going to be here and we're going to be here. And that's not supposed to happen. But he was a little psycho in his, handling of it. He could have thought of some other solution. But not just that. This movie it deals with prejudice really hard. And that's funny. I wonder how some people, I think this is a little correct. I wonder how some, like, if anybody's who's racist or really prejudiced against a certain group of people, how they feel when they watch movies like this. I would love to see or hear their reactions about how they felt in this movie. But it deals with prejudice themes really, really hard. Even amongst the apes themselves, there's people who trade and turn over and turn on their friends, their family, because they feel like, I want to be safe. I'm doing this to be safe. Or I got more freedom than you're gonna have, so I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So it's good to watch in that manner. And just because the apes don't mean I can't relate it to human, things humans went through, because there's a lot of prejudice in the world still, racism. It's terrible. It's terrible. But it's the same thing, and they even play with some themes in this, because the apes come to realize, they were like, okay, wait a minute. You humans hate each other too. There's stuff going on. You humans are at war with each other. Now, they did throw some things into this movie that are kind of like Easter eggs to, characters from the original series back in the 60s. There's some characters, Caesar's son is a very, famous ape from those movies. Also, there's this human girl they meet, and she's a mute. She can't talk for some reason. You'll find it out when you watch the film. And she's a certain somebody that was also in the first film as well. And I didn't know. I'm like, hold on. Are they trying to tie this in, saying this is what happened before the very first film back in 1968? I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because it's just a story. It doesn't make sense. In 1968, these apes were the way they were. They were sophisticated. They wore clothes, and they looked at humans, and they didn't know any humans that could talk. And it seemed like it was like this for a while, not just a couple of years, maybe half a century. No, it seemed like longer than that. It seemed like over a century, over 100 years worth of apes walking around being a dominant species on Earth. But in this, that wouldn't be possible with the young girl and Caesar's son at the age that they are. I'm like, things would have to take a dramatic turn really fast. Too many things would have to happen. It just doesn't make sense. But it was just nice to see they threw some of that stuff in there. Sometimes it feels a little forced. It always feels a little forced. It's just how you accept it. Like, okay, that's cool. Or, man, you didn't have to do that. But if they didn't throw those little, connecting threads to the previous movies, the movie still would have been great. It didn't need it at all. And it didn't hurt it either. I really don't think it did. But this movie is fantastic, man. It's just, there's not one moment where you're like, okay, can the story get interesting now? It's interesting all the way through. This movie even takes a turn. It becomes a prison break. At one point, it becomes a prison break movie. And it has this music that's kind of like some kind of, not comical, but fun heist music while this prison break is happening. But it fits in the movie. And it doesn't feel like you're watching a different movie. It's weird. I don't know how he did it, but Matt Reeves did a fantastic job on this. And he's supposed to be directing the Batman movie now. I'm excited. Now, they did throw out Ben Affleck's script, which Kevin Smith raved about and said, oh, it's amazing. They threw that out. They're starting over from scratch, and Matt Reeves says he wants to make this. He wants to see the detective side of Batman. He's supposed to be the world's greatest detective in DC Universe. So he wants to get into that a lot. And I made a video about that. I posted it up here. You can check that out a few videos back. So I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves does with the Batman. I can't wait to see what he does in general. This man really does good. I enjoyed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I enjoyed War. Get to the theater to see it. It's a good time at the movies, and plus there's some laughs in this, but it's also a really deep emotional movie and very entertaining. Even when there's no action, it's really good. Woody Harrelson knocks it out the park. That man's good. When I used to see him on Cheers when I was a real little kid, I never knew this man would have played half the roles that he did that I love so much. But that guy can act. He really can. But anyway, yeah, I would have to say, man, I would give it a 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5. This movie was great. Could have introduced some stuff to make it better. I always think you can make movies a little better and worse, but this movie was great. So get out there and see it. I recommend you seeing it. You won't be disappointed. Even if you haven't watched any of these movies, go back and watch those and go watch this one. But that's my review for War of the Planet of the Apes. Like the video, Subscribe, come back, watch some more videos. See you next time.